I was just going to pretend that nothing happened just now, but that didn't work. Okay, ready? Take two. Hi, everyone. Oh, God. Sorry. Hi, everyone. Welcome to BODHI. My name's Alex Nashton. This is Christopher Yates. Today, we're going to be moving through a 45-minute long beginner's foundation class. So for today, you're going to need a yoga mat. If you don't have a yoga mat, don't worry. Just make sure you have something to cushion your knees. You're also going to want to have either a pillow or a blanket nearby. And then I usually recommend 2 blocks for a practice like this. If you don't have 2 blocks at home, don't worry about it. You use anything similar that you've got handy. So old shoe boxes work, or even old DVD sets, really thick textbook, any of that will suffice as a block substitute. Other than that, today we're going to be getting into our shoulders and our necks a little bit. So I'm going to actually have you guys start lying down on your bellies. And you can lower your eyebrows if they immediately raised. And then on your belly, you're going to cross your right elbow underneath your left elbow underneath your chest. So it's going to look a little bit like this. The backs of your hands are going to rest on the ground. Your palms are going to be facing up like Chris is demonstrating right now. And then I want you guys to really think about pulling your right wrist over towards the left and pulling your left wrist over towards the right. So if it's helpful, you can imagine that I was grabbing onto both of your wrists and kind of pulling them in opposite directions. So you really are getting that crossing, that interlacing over the midline. And then with it, you're just going to allow the weight of your upper body to relax down onto your arms. So you let the weight of your head be heavy. Let the back of your neck lengthen. And if it's uncomfortable for you to just have your head kind of hanging out there in space, you can optionally slide a block underneath your head like Chris is demonstrating here. If you don't have a block, you can use a thicker pillow underneath your forehead. That usually works as well. And now you'll most likely be feeling this in the tops of your shoulders, some sort of stretch here in the tops of the shoulders or the upper arms. If you are not feeling that stretch there, it usually means one of 2 things. The first being that you just have really open shoulders, and that is a very normal part of the yoga practice for those of us that have been doing it for a while. But if you're like, no, that doesn't sound like me, my shoulders are typically pretty tight, you might not necessarily have the right setup. So you might want to play around with kind of wiggling your elbows a little further underneath your body. Chris, can you show that? So kind of wiggling the elbows underneath the rib cage a little bit more than the chest. Or alternatively, you might need to wiggle the hands and the elbows up a little bit higher, maybe coming more in the direction of the chin. But you'll kind of find that sweet spot. You'll kind of find that place where you feel that sensation, that opening and stretching in the tops of the shoulders. And then with it, you let the rest of your body relax down towards gravity. So let your heels relax, let them kind of roll away from each other. Your inner thighs will revolve up, your outer thighs will get heavy. You'll notice if there's one particular side that you're kind of leaning over towards to negotiate some space here. If there's any particular way that you are avoiding the deepening of sensation in your shoulders. And as much as you can, try to keep your balance between right side body and left side. So a very even distribution of weight here. You make sure that no part of you is trying to clench up or tighten in reaction to the shape. And then we'll slowly start to kind of wiggle out of it and switch sides. So this time, your left arm is going to cross underneath your right arm. And you slide the back of the left hand over towards the right. You slide the back of the right hand over towards the left. The palms of the hands are facing up. You're letting all 10 fingertips relax and kind of curl in slightly towards the palms of the hands. And then give the weight of your upper body permission to just kind of hang down onto the arms. To relax and get heavy there. Let everything in your lower body start to release its control. So there's no clenching, no gripping, no holding on in the lower portion of the body. You make sure that there's an even weight distribution between your right side back and your left side, that you're not leaning in any particular direction. And finally, you make sure that you're still breathing through all of this. That you're not constricting or holding onto your breath to avoid the intensity of what you might be feeling. And then you'll slowly start to kind of wiggle yourself out of this one. So bringing your arms out of it, you're going to bring your right palm to frame the right side of your chest, your left palm to frame the left side. Good, and you'll make sure that the tops of your feet are still down on the ground. You'll press down really actively through the tops of your feet. Make sure every single toenail connects with the ground, and then engage your thighs so your kneecaps lift up. Press your pubic bone down towards the ground. Lengthen your tailbone down towards your heels so you're making space for the lowest part of your back. And now keeping your elbows squeezed in by the sides of your body, you'll breathe in and lift your head, your neck, and your chest up. Good, and then you'll exhale and lay yourself back down again. One more time, you inhale, lift your head, lift your neck and chest up. You exhale to slowly lay yourself back down again. And then one more time, you'll breathe in and lift up. This time you'll hold it a little bit longer. You'll draw your shoulders down your back, away from your ears, and then press down through the palms of your hands and the tops of your feet to bring yourself up onto all fours. Good. So from all fours, you might need to widen your knees just a little bit, just enough that your knees can be underneath your hips. Your feet are going to be knee distance apart, so you press the tops of your feet down really hard on the ground here, just so you have a really stable lower body as a base of support here. And then you're going to climb up onto your fingertips as if there were little muffins or little cupcakes underneath your hands. And keeping your lower body where it is, you're going to start to walk your fingertips forward, so kind of crawling into a puppy dog pose. So note that Chris's hips are not going to come forward into the back bend with him, nor are they going to stick too far back. They're going to stay directly over his knees. And then with that, you're gonna let your head relax down, and you wanna make sure that your forehead is supported by something here. And that might be the ground if the ground is accessible to you, but you also might use a block if you can't quite reach the floor. Once again, make sure the tops of your feet stay pressing down, that they're knee distance apart, or in other words, they're inner hip distance apart. And now your fingertips can either stay on the ground, or you can lower the palms of your hands down like Chris is showing, and we wanna make sure that the arms are still active. So try to straighten out your elbows and think about finding what we call an external rotation in the shoulders here, just so we can enable the shoulders to open without pinching anything or getting anything stuck. In other words, what this means is you have the action of trying to spin your triceps in towards your ears instead of letting them wing out. Another way to say that would be to try to kind of turn your armpits towards your heart. Good. And then you'll start to press down through your fingertips or the palms of your hands again, and slowly start to walk yourself back up onto all fours. You can set that block aside, and then you'll make sure that your wrists are just a little further out in front of your shoulders still. You'll tuck your toes under and lift your hips up and back into a downward facing dog. Make sure the space between your thumb and your first finger is anchored down. Typically that part of the hand kind of tries to peek up. Press every single finger knuckle down onto the ground beneath you, and find that same action of trying to revolve your armpits in towards your heart, trying to spin your triceps in towards your ears. Use the pressure of your hands down on the ground to elevate your hips up and back even more. And if you're finding some rounding in the lowest part of your back, like Chris is demonstrating here, I want you to find a bending your knees. And with that bending your knees, you stick your sitting bones up higher towards the sky. Beautiful. From here, you can take a slow walk with your hands back towards your feet. When they get there, pretty generous bend into your knees. Look down at your feet and make sure that your feet are inner hip distance apart. If you're not quite sure, you take your two fists side by side between the highest part of each inner arch, and that'll kind of give you the right proportion. That'll kind of give you the right distance. Once you've got it, you're gonna bend your knees even more, maybe so much that you connect your belly to your thighs, and then interlace your fingers back behind you at the base of the spine. Think about squeezing the palms of the hands together as you leverage your fists up and over. Nice. And so this is just working to help us open up the tops of the shoulders a little bit more. If you know that you tend to hyperextend your elbows or lock out your joints, then I want you to think about finding a little bit more of a bending your elbows, and think about taking the pointiest part of that bend towards the top of the mat. Good. Take one more breath in here. And then exhale, release your hands down. You're going to walk your fingertips up onto your shins and find a flat back here. Pause with that flat back. Shift a little more weight forward towards your toes, a little less on your heels, so you perch your hips directly over your ankles. And now if there's some rounding in your lower back, again, similar to a downward facing dog, I want you to think about finding just the tiniest little bend in your knees. And once again, sending your pubic bone towards the space between your thighs, revolving your sitting bones up towards the sky. Beautiful. And now with your exhale, either keeping your knees ever so slightly bent or maybe even completely straightening them out, you're going to let your upper body round and relax down. So the lower body works towards straight. The thighs are going to engage, so you firm the thighs and make space behind your knees. And now as you inhale, you're going to sweep your fingertips all the way around and up to the sky. So coming to stand all the way up. With your exhale, you bring the palms of your hands to touch at the center of your chest, and then pause. Think about lengthening your tailbone down here in Tadasana, pulling your pubic bone in the front up towards your chin. Your chest stays lifted, but your shoulders are relaxed down your back away from your ears. And now you're going to breathe in again and sweep your fingertips around and up towards the sky. You exhale and dive yourself all the way forward and down. Move slowly here. So you're trying to keep a flat back for as long as you can. When you can't maintain the length anymore, you let your upper body relax. And know that if it's really uncomfortable for you to try to keep your legs straight here, you keep a little bend in the knees, that's fine. Inhale, walk your hands up to your shins and find that flat back again. Good, and then now as you exhale, bend your knees, plant your hands down and walk your hands forward into another downward facing dog. As you inhale next, you'll bring yourself forward to a plank pose. Your knees can either stay lifted like Chris has going on here, or you can optionally drop them down like Chris is now demonstrating. Go ahead and shift your shoulders forward past your wrists. And then keep your core engaged, so belly button squeezing in towards the spine. You're gonna bend your elbows straight back by your ribs, so not letting them wing out here, they stay close. Come all the way down onto your belly. And then tops of the feet find the ground. Engage your thighs so kneecaps lift up. And now I want you to slide your wrists back so they're underneath the elbows. Good. Inhale, lift your head, your neck, and your chest up, and then pause there. Stay in that baby cobra. So for those of you that have any tenderness or sensitivity in the lower back, or you know that you don't have a very strong back bend at this moment in time, I want you to stay in this baby cobra. This will help you develop the strength. However, if you're wanting to take it a step further and move into an upward facing dog, we're gonna keep the thighs engaged. We're gonna keep the tops of the feet pressing down hard onto the floor. But this time you're gonna add in pressing down through the palms of your hands and working to straighten out your arms. As your arms straighten, you lift your chest up higher towards the sky until there's so much pressure down through the palms of your hands and the tops of your feet that your kneecaps and your thighs and your hips are all lifted up off of the ground. And now you'll press your shoulders down your back away from your ears and think about spreading your collarbones apart so there's more space across the front of your chest. Lift the front of your chest up. Good, and now as you exhale, everybody tuck your toes under, lift your hips up and back, downward facing dog. So if you are feeling really complete with just that one upward facing dog and you don't need to take any more, if that's feeling like it's gonna be too much for your practice today, you are always more than welcome to take that little baby cobra, the first one that we did. Otherwise, you take your upward facing dog if you feel ready for it. Okay, with your next breath in, you're gonna look forward past your fingertips. With your next breath out, you're gonna step your right foot forward between your hands. You're gonna inhale and take your left foot up to meet your right foot. Take both hands to your shins and find a flat back. As you exhale, let your upper body relax down as your lower body straightens, thighs stay engaged. Inhale, reach your fingertips all the way around and up to the sky. Come to stand all the way up. Exhale, palms of your hands touch at the center of the chest. Inhale, reach your arms around and up again. You exhale and swan dive forward and down. Remember, your chest and your head are the very last things to drop. Inhale, hands to your shins, lift halfway up. Exhale, bend your knees, plant your hands, just the right foot steps back behind you. You'll inhale and take your left foot back to meet it in a plank pose. Knees can stay lifted or you can optionally drop them down. Either way, shoulders are gonna come forward past your wrists. You're high on your tiptoes. Bend your elbows straight back, lower all the way down onto your belly. Good, and then you untuck your toes, slide your wrists back so they're underneath your elbows. Inhale, lift your head, neck, and chest up. So baby cobra. If you want to take it into that upward facing dog, you have that option again to straighten out the arms until the hips and the thighs lift up. And then with your exhale, you'll tuck your toes under, lift your hips all the way up and back, downward facing dog. Take a breath in here. And a breath out. Inhale, look forward. Exhale, left foot steps up between your hands. Inhale, take your right foot up to meet it. Hands immediately come to your shins. You find that flat back. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, reach your arms all the way around and up. Come all the way to stand. Exhale, palms of your hands touch at the center of your chest. Inhale, reach up again. You exhale and dive forward and down. Inhale, lift halfway up. Exhale, bend your knees, plant your hands. This time, right foot steps back behind you. Inhale, left foot back to meet it. Plank pose, knees are lifted or lowered. Either way, shoulders come forward past your wrists. You lower all the way down onto your belly. Slide your wrists back so they're under your elbows. Inhale, lift your head, neck, and chest up. You can optionally move through that upward facing dog again, making sure that your thighs are engaged, that your chest is pulling forward and up. And then exhale, tuck your toes, lift your hips up and back, downward facing dog. Take a breath in here. And a breath out. Inhale, look forward. Exhale, step your right foot up between your hands. Inhale, left foot comes up to meet it. Hands come to your shins. You find a flat back. You exhale and release back down again. Backs of the legs lengthen. Inhale, reach your arms all the way up to the sky. Exhale, take your hands to your heart. We're gonna move through one more sun salutation. Inhale, reach your arms up. Exhale, dive yourself forward and down. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, bend your knees, plant your hands, step yourself back to a plank pose. If you need to, you drop the knees down. Your core stays engaged as your shoulders shift forward. You lower all the way down onto your belly. Now, you should be landing in such a position when your shoulders are shifting forward before you lower down that your elbows land at a 90-degree angle over your wrists. But if they're not there, then you'll obviously need to adjust accordingly. And then you'll inhale and lift your head, neck, and chest up. Optionally, you move through that upward facing dog. You exhale to tuck your toes under, hips move up and back, downward facing dog. From here, you can go ahead and drop your knees down. Tops of your feet come to the ground, big toes touch. Your knees can also slide a little bit wider apart here for this next shape, especially if there's any tenderness in your lower back. Your hips are gonna draw back towards your heels. You're gonna let your upper body relax down over your thighs, so that might mean that you rest your forehead on the floor again, but it also might mean that you rest your forehead on a block. You're gonna let your elbows relax in this one, so it's quite all right if the elbows are hanging heavy on the ground. You'll focus on breathing more fully and deeply into your lower back. And know that at any point throughout the rest of this practice, if you need to stop and rest, this is a really good position to do that in. So you'll take a big breath in here. You'll exhale and let it go. Take a big breath in and out. One more inhale. And exhale. Slowly slide yourself back up onto all fours. You can set your blocks aside if you are using them to support your upper body. And then from this position, you're gonna step your right foot forward between your hands. Nice. And then you'll slide your left knee a little further back behind you and untuck your toes. Now, if there is any tenderness or sensitivity underneath your left knee, you can use the support of a pillow or a blanket underneath it, just as a little extra cushioning. And now you're gonna walk your hands up onto your right thigh and push your chest up towards the sky. Good. As you do, we want to be sure that this right knee is bending to a position where the knee can balance over the ankle. And with the knee balanced over the ankle, you're also going to let your pelvis drop forward and down. Your pubic bone is going to lift up towards your chin. Your tailbone lengthens down towards the ground. And then pull your collarbones wider apart, so make even more space across the front of your chest. If you want to play with balance a little bit more here, you can reach your fingertips up towards the sky. And if you want to up the level of challenge even more, you can tuck your left toes under and begin to kind of lift your left knee up, so kind of floating the left knee off of the floor. You can work to straighten this back leg as much as you'd like to. Just make sure that it doesn't crunch or compress into your lower back. Beautiful. Take one more breath in here. Exhale, drop your left knee down. Release your fingertips down to the ground as well if they were lifted. And then you're going to either keep your fingertips on the ground or you can optionally take your hands onto 2 blocks. I like the blocks for this one. You're going to start to pull your hips back until your left hip balances over your left knee and work your right leg towards straight. As you straighten that right leg, your toes are going to pull up towards your face. Your foot is flexed. Your thigh, your right thigh, is engaged here. And then we'll move forward and back like that a few times. So as you inhale, you walk your blocks or your fingertips forward, bending into the right knee, dropping the pelvis down and lifting the chest up. As you exhale, you slide both hips back. You work to lengthen out the back of the right leg and flex into your foot. And we'll do that a few more times. So breathing in, you come forward, and breathing out, you go back. You'll move as quickly or as slowly as you need to today, which might mean that if you happen to be breathing faster than me, you'll move to the pace of that breath a little bit faster than what I was cueing or what Chris is demonstrating. But if you were feeling like your breath was a little bit slower, you might move a little more slowly today. So we'll go forward and back like that just a few more times. And the next time you come forward, you're going to pause. You're going to curl your left toes under. Lift your left knee up if there was a blanket underneath you, so you can slide that blanket or slide that pillow out of the way. And then set your blocks aside. Take your hands back down onto the mat. And then slide your right knee back to meet your left knee. So you're on all fours once again. And then we'll switch sides. So left foot steps forward in between the hands. You'll curl your right toes under, lift your right knee for just a moment. If you're needing support, you slide that underneath you, and then you'll walk your hands up onto your left thigh. You press your chest up towards the sky. Shoulders move down your back away from your ears. You let your pelvis drop forward and down. But be sure that this left knee is not surpassing the left ankle. So Chris, you can walk your left foot forward a little bit more. Beautiful. And now if you're wanting to up the level of intensity or play around with balance, you'll reach your fingertips up to the sky. And if you really want to up the level of challenge even more, you can play around with tucking the right toes under and maybe hovering the right knee up off of the ground. Maybe even working that right leg towards straight. Nice. Make sure you're still breathing here. And then with your next breath out, you can drop your right knee back down again if it was lifted. Take your fingertips down to either the ground or to your blocks. Inhale, try to find a little more lift across the front of your chest here so the heart moves open. As you exhale, you draw both hips back so you're stacking right hip over right knee. The left leg works towards straight. And we'll move forward and back like that just a few times. So as you inhale, you bend your left knee, you drop your pelvis forward and down. As you exhale, you draw your hips back. Right hip stacks over right knee. The left leg works towards straight. You'll keep going. Make sure you're breathing the entire time. Okay, and then next time you come forward, you'll pause. You'll curl your right toes under and lift your right knee up just enough that you can slide the blanket or the pillow out from underneath you. And then dropping your knee back down again, you'll set your blocks aside and sweep your left knee back to meet your right knee. Good. From here, you'll tuck your toes under, lift your hips up and back into a downward facing dog. And from this dog, you'll walk your hands back towards your feet until you're in a standing fold at the back of your mat once again. You bend gently into your knees. You'll interlace your fingers at the base of your spine, very similar to what you did at the beginning of the practice, but this time you'll switch the crossing of your fingers, so other pinkies on top. Your fists move up and over towards the top of the mat. Let your head and neck relax down. And make sure that you're still breathing the entire time. So fists are working up and over. Head and neck are relaxed. Nice. Take another inhale here. And then exhale, relax your hands back down. Inhale, walk your hands up onto your shins and find a flat back. Keep the backs of your legs lengthened. Exhale, release forward again. Inhale, reach your fingertips all the way around and up to the sky. Come and stand all the way up. Exhale, palms of your hands come to touch at the center of your chest. Now you're going to take a big step with your left foot forward towards the top of the mat. And you're going to turn all 10 toes to face the right side of the mat. You'll spin your heels out just a little bit wider than your toes. And then you'll bring your hands to your hips. Hands on hips. Your tailbone lengthens down. You try to lift up higher through the front of your chest. Shoulders relax down your back away from your ears. And now with your exhale, you're going to dive your chest forward and down. Good. Once you get to that point where you feel like you can't go any further, you can relax your arms, relax your hands down. And note that if your hands don't quite find the floor here, I want you to take them up onto blocks. And then with fingertips either on the blocks or on the ground, you're going to start to walk those blocks out in front of you. Just enough that you can completely lengthen out your spine and completely lengthen out your arms, and then you'll let your upper body relax down towards the floor here. So it's very similar to that puppy dog position that we took earlier in the way that the lower body is our anchor. So make sure you're pressing down through the pinky toe sides of both feet, that you're working to kind of drag the front and back ends of the mat together by activating your legs, by squeezing your inner thighs. And then make sure that the hips stay in alignment with the ankles so you're not leaning yourself too far back, nor are you leaning yourself too far forward here, but you find that sweet spot in between. Let the upper body relax down even more. If it's helpful, you can keep your hands really stable on those blocks. Chris is just going to keep sliding forward into oblivion. I'm just going to make you guys hold it here so we can see if he falls at any point on his face. Okay. And then you'll walk your blocks in just a little bit closer, so once again, your hips are directly in alignment with your ankles. Chris? Yeah, blocks are maybe not that close. Yeah, good. Let your chest relax down. And then start to walk your blocks over to the right just a little bit so you find length along your left side waist. As you do, think about pulling your left hip back. So you're really making space along the left side lung and the left side rib cage here. Take a breath in and a breath out. And now walk your hands over towards the left. Make sure that the lower body is still stable. So once again, the right hip is drawing back. Take a breath in here. A breath out. Another inhale. And exhale. And then walk your hands forward again. And then bring them back in towards your body. And as you do, you'll find a halfway lift as much as you can here. So you work to find your flat back. With that flat back, you'll take your hands to your hips. Keep using the pinky toe sides of your feet to squeeze the front and back ends of the mat together, and then draw your chest all the way back up. Beautiful. Okay, you can step your left foot back to meet your right foot again at the back of your mat. But you'll turn yourself around to face the front of the mat. And then you can breathe in and sweep your arms around and up to the sky. Breathe out and dive forward and down. Breathe in, lift yourself just halfway up. Exhale, bend your knees, plant your hands, walk your hands out in front of you. So coming into a downward facing dog. From this dog, you'll shift your shoulders forward to that plank pose. Again, shoulders past your wrists. Your knees are either lifted or lowered. You exhale to lower all the way down onto your belly. From your belly, you're going to untuck your toes, and then you're going to reach your arms back by the sides of your body. Turn the palms of your hands to face your hips. And then as you inhale, lift everything up that can be lifted. Your head, your neck, your chest, the tops of your feet, your knees, your thighs. Everything that can be lifted is lifted. And everything that can be relaxed is relaxed. So let the muscles of your face soften. Unlock your jaw, unclench your butt. Take another breath in here. And then exhale, lay yourself down. Turn one cheek to the mat, and then find a little wiggle in your hips from side to side like you're wagging an imaginary tail. And then you can let that go. And we're going to do one more back bend just like that. So turn your nose back to face the center of your mat. The palms of your hands face your hips. You inhale and lift everything up that can be lifted. As you breathe in, see if you can pull yourself a little bit longer here. As you breathe out, think about lifting a little bit higher. Your inhale pulls you longer. Your exhale lifts you higher. Take one more inhale, get even longer this time. And then exhale, release yourself down. Other cheek finds the ground. You wiggle your hips very gently from side to side. Wag your imaginary tail. And then you settle into stillness.